Hello, and welcome back to Something to Noodle On. I'm your host, Mac, and today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I don't know what exactly we're going to call this segment, but if you guys like it, we'll do more, and then titling becomes Future Me's problem. But for right now, we're taking questions from you, the viewer. A few days ago, I asked y'all on Instagram to submit some questions if you wanted advice, and that these questions might end up on the podcast. Well, today we will get to as many questions as we can. I'm really sorry if we don't get to everyone. There was a lot of questions, and honestly, a lot of them were in the same realm. So if the wording wasn't exactly your question, I hope I can still provide some guidance. Now, I do want to say that if you are seriously struggling in life, to reach out to the suicide hotline or a trusted friend or maybe even a family member. The advice I'm about to give is from my own personal experiences and things that have helped me get through tough times. In no way, shape, or form am I equipped or trained to help in a serious situation. With all that out of the way, let's get into it, shall we? I ended up grouping together questions that were in the same realm or topic. So today's questions are going to focus on depression, a tough situation, and how to relax. The first question is, and this is a funny one, what to do about a coworker who hates my guts? This can apply to friendships and other relationships as well. First off, this situation sucks. It's really hard to have to go into work in the first place, but if there are people there that are making your life even more difficult, I'm truly sorry because that blows. There's a couple different ways you can approach this, and this goes with friendships too. If you find that someone doesn't like you, you could straight up just ask them what's their deal, why don't they like you? And maybe it might be something as dumb as they don't like your perfume or cologne, or maybe they think your laugh is really annoying, or it could be a more serious issue like a personality clash. If y'all's personalities are not the kind that mesh together, then you might never be friends, and honestly, that's okay. It's hard to think that people might not like you when you think that you're a pretty awesome person, but it's okay that other people have different opinions. If after confronting them and asking them why they don't like you so that maybe you can reconcile any differences you might have, if they brush it off and say, oh, that's not true, I do like you, but you know that's not the truth, then here's some other things you can try. If it's a work situation, you can see if your manager can schedule you on days that that person is not working. That way, you really don't have to deal with them at all. On the other side, if there is someone who doesn't like you who's in your school, then trying to avoid them is probably the easiest thing you can do. If your manager can't reschedule you, and after asking them and approaching them about why they don't like you, if none of these things seem to be working, then the last thing that I would try is just be kind. You never really know what someone else is going through in their life, and a lot of times when we don't like somebody, it's not because we don't actually like them, it's because we see a little bit of ourselves in them, or maybe we're jealous of them. There's always a little bit more than, oh, I just don't like you. So be kind to them, and maybe they'll come around. Another question we have is how to deal with hard times. I think for me, hard times always come and go. And I try to appreciate when I'm in one of those slumps because when you think about it, it takes the lowest of lows to appreciate the highest of highs. If you're always having great days, then your great days become meh days because there's nothing really to compare them to. So while you're in this slump right now, know that it's not going to last forever. Granted, it might feel that way, especially if this slump is lasting several weeks, months, heck, it could even last several years, but just know that the future is always brighter. For me, I like to take it one day at a time. I write to-do lists on what I need to accomplish that day. I write things that I want to do around the house. I also write any plans down that I might make with friends. This helps me capture each day to know that, hey, while I didn't finish all these tasks on this day, I got to hang with my friend Ashley, or I got to play video games with my friend Amanda, and that was really fun. I'm a very visual person, so being able to see my days like that really helps me. When times are really tough, I always try to make plans with friends. Even though you might not be in the mood to do so, I think being around people always helps bring you out of that slump. You get to laugh, goof off, maybe play games, and it gives you that hit of dopamine and serotonin that we so desperately need when we're going through these rough times. Plus, it also gives you something to look forward to, which helps with the anticipation and gets you excited about something. I hope this helps. Our next question is a little tougher. It's what to do when your parents fight all the time. I have to disclose with my parents divorced when I was really, really young, so I wasn't really around to see the fighting, or was I coherent enough to understand that they were fighting. I think I was like 2 or 3 when they got a divorce. However, I have seen a lot of my friends' parents fight while I was at their house, and it's a really uncomfortable situation to be in. Let me make this clear. Your parents fighting is not your fault at all. Even if they say it's your fault or blame you for stuff, it has nothing to do with you. Parents are people too, who have a lot of stress at work, friend stress, responsibilities, bills to pay. There's a lot going on when you're an adult, and sometimes the smallest of things might make you bicker and argue with somebody you love. Just know that you are not the problem. The first thing I would do, if it's safe to do so, is try to leave the house. I mean, go for a walk, maybe ride your bike, see if your next door neighbor, if you're friends with them, if you can go to their house. That way you're removing yourself from the situation. If you aren't able to leave the house, I would try and go to your room and just occupy yourself with something you can get lost in. Maybe video games, maybe that's drawing. For some people, that might be YouTube, but find a way to distract your brain from the argument that might be happening in the other room. Now, this is just my opinion, but I would highly discourage trying to get in the way of the fight to try to break up your parents arguing, depending on the parent, and I'm sure they don't mean anything by it, but they might throw some choice words your way, and you definitely don't need to be hearing that. Anything said in an argument is just in the heat of the moment. I wouldn't take it too personally, but I also wouldn't put yourself in a situation to have words thrown at you. So yeah, leave the house or sequester yourself up in your room and try to distract. I'm really sorry that you're going through this. The next question is something that I need to do a little bit more of. How should I relax? And what are some fun hobbies? I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to work, so it's really hard for me to actually relax, but some things that I like to do is watch TV, lose myself in Survivor. I love doing a puzzle. Board games are really fun. And if you have them, video games can be a great way to just let your mind wander from all the stuff that happened at work that day. If you're looking for more hobbies that help you leave the house, then I recommend going online and seeing what's in your area. Some things that I really enjoy doing is pottery. So maybe if you're into ceramics as well, you can see if there are any studios in your area. There's also rock climbing. That can be a really, really fun sport, but not all towns have a rock climbing gym. But I've driven up to 30-45 minutes to go rock climbing before. It's totally worth it. One of my favorite things to do with friends is escape rooms. They are the bee's knees. If you're into puzzles and a little bit of pressure with time on a clock, then I highly suggest an escape room. You need about 4 people. I wouldn't go more than 6, to be honest. 4 for me is the magic number. Also, if your city lends itself to it, I highly suggest hiking. It's one of the most meditative things that I do to relax because being outside in nature, you really get the sense of how small we actually are, and all these problems that we experience day to day, they really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. It kind of gets me out of the house and able to refocus all of my thoughts. If you pick up any of these hobby ideas, let me know because I'd be interested to see what you've been up to. Here's an interesting question. How to make friends in a boarding school where everyone has different cultures. Now, I've never been to a boarding school, but my high school was completely mixed. There were so many people from so many different walks of life, and it was really, really cool. If there are a lot of different cultures in your school, you can make friends by going up to someone and asking them about themselves. A lot of people really like talking about the things that they're into, so you might make a new friend and realize that you guys are into the same stuff, despite being from two totally different cultures. You'd be more surprised how alike we all are than we think. If you're walking into this boarding school, or any school for that matter, not knowing a single person, then I highly suggest looking for any clubs or activities that you can join. Clubs are the best way to meet people because everyone's already there because they like the activity that the club is about. So there you go. You already have something in common. While it might seem like a big deal, I promise you that people being from different cultures or backgrounds is not a big deal at all. You're actually really lucky that you get to talk to people from different places around the world, or even in different states if you're in the US. You might be able to ask them some things about their culture and learn something new, as well as share about your own culture. This next question is going to come with a suicide warning. So if that topic is really triggering for you, then go ahead and skip ahead a couple of minutes. This question is, what to do if you have too many violent thoughts? The first thing that I would do if I was someone who had violent thoughts is think to myself, am I a harm to myself or others? If that answer is yes, then I would tell somebody about these thoughts and try to get some help in a hospital type situation. If these thoughts are more occasional or you're able to suppress them a little bit, then therapy might be a fantastic option for you. I myself am in therapy. I go once a week, and it is the best thing I've ever done for my mental health. During the pandemic, I was in a really, really low spot. Not violent thoughts type of low spot, but I just wasn't happy and I wasn't myself. Being in therapy has helped bring myself back to the surface when it felt like I was drowning. If you ever are having violent thoughts that you want to act on, then I highly suggest calling the suicide hotline. They even have a number that you can text. That number is 988. You can text it. It's available 24 hours. It's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. I want you to know that you are not alone in these feelings, even though you might feel like you're on an island. You have friends and family and people who care so deeply about you and your well-being. It might seem like in the moment that they don't care, or maybe you're feeling a little bit of neglect from people that should be more nurturing in your life, but I promise you that has nothing to do with you. If you feel safe and comfortable, reach out to friends and family and tell them how you're feeling. And maybe they can help get you into some programs that can make these really loud thoughts a little bit more quiet. All right, that's all the time we have for questions today. Thank you to everyone who submitted them. Next week, we'll be back to our regular format. I really wanted to just try something new, so if you liked it, let me know. You can tell us in our Discord server or on Twitter at @ApodNoodleOn. I'll see you next time. Bye!